It is Monday, November 23rd, and this is my news radar. As we slowly march closer and closer to the wonderful tech deals and many bargains to be found on Black Friday, it seemed rather obvious that sooner than later we were going to see some sort of a deal announced for the Microsoft Surface Duo, which I might remind you made it onto Time's list of top inventions of 2020. So what deals do we know about as of now? So there's not a lot necessarily to go over in terms of what sorts of sales we have, but we do have at least one. Coming from MS Power User, it looks like a $200 discount is going to be ready to go and is actually live now. That's going to bring the device down to $1199 for the 128 gigabyte model. Now, personally, I don't think this is, like super duper incredible because they were running a $200 off deal for a while anyways. I would love to see something maybe that was like $200 and you get the Surface earbuds or a Slim Pen or something like that. I would almost be tempted to hold out and wait and see if anything better does pop up as we get closer to the big day. I don't think we're going to have any issues with running out of stock or anything like that. So $200 right now, I would probably wait and see if anything else happens. And as I've said in a few different places, the longer you wait to buy this thing, the better off you're really going to be, because the updates continue to roll out. The device continues to become more and more stable, more and more usable. The camera has improved a decent amount as well, and that price is going to come down. So you're moving closer and closer into this making more sense for more people to buy. The device is getting better. The price is getting lower. So let me know if you're planning on maybe picking up a Surface Duo here at Black Friday using this particular sale or a sale like this. So it looks like we finally have some more details about what the OnePlus 9 might look like. And honestly, it kind of has surprised me a little bit, because what we're looking at here is basically two 48 megapixel cameras. So that's why those, the camera module itself is so very large. So interestingly enough, the reports that we're seeing here seem to indicate that the primary sensor is going to be a 48 megapixel sensor, which we've seen in OnePlus devices before, but instead of being the IMX689, it's the IMX586. Also has a more narrow focal length by comparison to what's in the OnePlus 8 Pro and 8T. And then they're swapping out the 16 megapixel ultra wide for a new 48 megapixel ultra wide, which to me, the ultra wide in particular on the later, OnePlus devices has been very good, but there's been a noticeable step down in terms of quality when compared to the primary sensor. From the reading I've done, that 586 IMX sensor is a little bit different from the 689 in that you're actually dealing with smaller pixels and only 2x1 pixel binning. You can see here on this particular chart. So it'd be interesting to see if this is actually a downgrade from where we've been or exactly how this is going to stack up. Let's talk about game streaming here for a second. We've talked about it on several different videos. And one of the biggest topics has been the fact that Google Stadia, along with Game Pass, has been removed from the Apple Store. Well, we've gotten word that things like Fortnite are going to try to come back to the Apple App Store through a web app version of NVIDIA's streaming software. We've also got word that Xbox Game Pass streaming service is going to try to relaunch on Apple devices using a web app as well. And now we have word that Google Stadia is going to do the same thing. It says they're going to begin testing a mobile Safari version in the coming weeks. The timing of this really couldn't be better if they can get this going quickly, because CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk 2077 is about to launch, and Google is running a pretty good promotion here where if you pre-order the game on Stadia before December 10th, you will receive the Stadia Premier Edition bundle, which gets you a controller and a Chromecast Ultra. It should also be pointed out that a lot of people actually just got the Premier Edition for free from Google. If you were a YouTube Premium subscriber like myself, you could have gotten that bundle for free. I believe it's out of stock now. It may still be worth doing a quick Google search, but the timing is pretty good there. It's honestly quite amusing to me that Apple has tried to keep some of these apps out of the App Store, and they've kind of all just come together and came to the same solution. Let's talk about Amazon's game streaming service, their competitor to Stadia, to GeForce Now, to Xbox Game Pass, etc., etc. and it's called Amazon Luna. That's what we're talking about on this video. So when it first launched, I applied to be part of the testing phase of Luna, and I got my email a couple of days ago, and I decided, let's go ahead and load this thing up and see what it actually is like in action. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to basically show you sort of what Luna is like. Then I'm going to launch a game in real time and show you my impressions, like I said, in real time of me playing that game. We're looking at $5.99 plus tax, and obviously I have a week free of this before it does go again. I believe you can actually launch the game through this web interface, which is quite cool. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to launch the app, the actual program that you can install on your computer to do it instead. Let's just see if it makes any difference. So when you load Luna up, this is what you're going to get. Interesting that you can make playlists for your games. That's a sort of interesting thing to do, but whatever. Here's your list of games, and it's not a huge amount of games, but I mean, for $6 a month, maybe there's enough value there for you. What about settings here? Obviously, they have a Luna controller that you can use. You can also just use an Xbox controller, PlayStation controller, or your mouse and keyboard. No big deal there. You've got the ability to modify your different performance settings. Obviously, right now, we're going to stay with the only option it's giving me, which is standard. Can reach up to 10 gigabytes per hour. That's pretty high-end sort of data usage there, but in streaming a game, that's going to happen. Now, an interesting thing here is that you have the Luna Plus channel, which I believe is your standard subscription, so I have access to these things. But then you also have the Ubisoft channel. So you would have to add Ubisoft Plus to your subscription. Okay, now rather than actually logging into Ubisoft, because I don't remember what my login is, it's $15 a month additional to get access to this. And, look, is that worth it to you? Maybe. I mean, because look, you're going to get Assassin's Creed Valhalla in there. You're going to get Assassin's Creed, the previous games, Far Cry, Ghost Recon, Watch Dogs, Trials, Steep. Is that worth $15 a month to you? Maybe, maybe not. Let's just go ahead and fire up Metro Exodus. And this is the first time I have tried to play a game through Luna. So we're going to put the headphones on here. All right, so the first thing that I want to notice is what sort of delay do I have in moving the mouse around. And there's definitely something there, but it's not terrible. Let's just jump into a game here. And so obviously it'll be really difficult to tell what kind of latency I'm dealing with until I'm actually in the game. Okay, so we are now in the actual game, and there's definitely a delay there. Hold on just a second. Let's see if I can, just for a moment here, let me just see if I can show you. It may be hard to perceive from this angle, but there is definitely a slight delay there. And I mean, look, that's par for the course. That's not, you're not going to be able to get away from that when you're talking about something like streaming a game over the internet. The question is, how big of a problem is it going to be actually in the game? So as far as, oh, that's lovely. As far as visual quality goes, I'm not getting a ton of artifacting. It actually looks pretty good. Picture quality's solid. I think that the biggest thing is just going to be that slight input latency, and this is where I feel like, in my opinion, this is just not. It's just not there yet, and and I'm not saying that Luna is worse than Stadia or Game Pass. I'd say Stadia has been the best so far, and Luna is in the neighborhood in terms of that input latency. But it's just unfortunate that at its best, it's still just not something that I feel like I would want to play. There was a slight hitch there as well. I did play a little bit of Stadia, not that, ooh, some bad hitching there. Okay. The input latency is there. It's going to be there. It's about where Stadia was. I was about to say that I wasn't having as many glitches and hitches as Stadia had given me when I was playing Phoenix Immortals Rising, I think is the name of the game. But then it started glitching out on me and giving me the same sorts of problems. Both Stadia and Luna both have less input lag than Game Pass has had for me. Now that's, your mileage may vary there. Now, the bigger question that you have to ask yourself is when you're looking at the library here, how many of these games are games that, are big games that really can compete with what is on Game Pass or Stadia? And I mean, it's not a dramatically large amount of games, and most of them are smaller games. So Luna, $6 a month. Not a great selection of games. Performance seems to be on par with Stadia in my experience, maybe a little bit better than Game Pass. At the end of the day, they're going to need to vastly increase the number of games that are available in the service, or it's really not going to matter. So guys, that's all I have for you today. Be sure to check back every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the next edition of my News Radar. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends. If you enjoy my content, please consider becoming a Scary If Literal member. You'll get access to a whole bunch of emoticons to use with live streams and a shout out on an upcoming video. Thanks as always for your continued support.